So I'm getting ready to wrap up my 10-mile trail run today. It's kind of a long, slow run, taking it easy, having fun out here. Feels good to be on the trails. I've been doing a lot of road running here in the last couple weeks, so this definitely feels good. Big announcement that I have is this year is the year I think I'm gonna throw my name in the hat for a 100-miler. I've run 100Ks, 24-hour races, 12-hour races, 8-hour races, 50Ks, never run 100. I think it's about time, and I think January 1st I'm going to be applying for the Yeti 100 in Southwest Virginia, so my home state. It makes it easier for crew to help you if you need assistance. So I'm thinking if I do have anyone help me, it'll be polite to have them help me on a race that is not too difficult for them to navigate as crew. So that's the plan. So that makes me nervous and excited all at the same time. It definitely puts the pressure on to get myself squared away, both physically and mentally. So in my last video, I talked about how I'm going to be running faster in 2022 and training in my ultra marathon races. That's my plan, and that's a kind of a multi-phased approach. Part of that is obviously running more volume, losing weight, and there's a third part that I'm gonna hop back in the studio and talk a little bit more with you about.
All right, back in the studio. So the second major thing that I'm doing besides losing weight to get faster in 2022 is working on my form. Now, over the last couple weeks, I've been diligently checking out my form, reviewing it on video, reviewing how I feel, and testing it while I'm out running. So I've been doing a lot of 5-mile runs during the week, kind of testing out things like my anterior pelvic tilt that has plagued me for a very long time. I'm somebody that kind of has a sway back, that lordosis in the lower back. I don't know why. It's always something that I've kind of had, even when I was in track in my younger days. I've always noticed that when I ran, I always had a large kind of a sway in my lower back. So I've been basically trying to work on increasing my hip mobility, my flexibility in my hips, because I do notice that as I've transitioned into ultra marathons, that I have really shortened my stride when I'm not at a really good pace, and I can't race an ultra marathon anything around the 50-mile mark. I'm not running 10 minutes or less per mile. And one thing I've noticed is that over time, as my mind has kind of developed a certain form to be efficient as best as I can, metabolically efficient, not burning a lot, trying to move as least as I can, and not burn as many calories and save on energy. Is what I'm doing is I'm actually shortening the drive phase of my entire running cycle. So I've gotten to the point where, let me stand up and show you, where I'm kind of sitting in the saddle and my back's swayed, and I'm just kind of running like this. And you can see it in some of the videos that I've posted. I've noticed it more so now than ever before. I don't know why. I'm very tight through the abdominal section, which causes me to kind of crunch a little bit more. And as I'm driving back, I'm just kind of like this. I'm not driving off my leg. So what that's doing, obviously, is being metabolically inefficient. I'm not driving as much as I can. And so I noticed in these test runs that anytime I kind of tuck my tailbone in, and it's a weird feeling. So I tilt my hips back. I tip my hips, they're like this. I kind of level them out as best I can, not to tip the water. You got to think of a bucket, and the bucket's tilted forward like that. Water's going to spill at the front. As I tilt it back, that's okay. I start to kind of feel like, wow, this is getting a little easier to run at the same heart rate. And so I've been doing tests where I just do everything. All I do is change my form. And there's actually a feeling of when I tilt my hips back to the more posterior, from the anterior to posterior, if I feel like I'm tucking my tailbone in, it almost feels like somebody's pushing me. So I can feel my hamstrings and my glutes engage more, and it's actually easier. So I saw drops in my heart rate just correcting the form. So I was increasing my speed probably 20 to 30 seconds per mile in my pace, to see my pace increasing just by doing that. And it felt easier. And I know that as in ultras, you start to get tired and you start to fatigue, and you sit in the saddle and everything kind of breaks down on you. But I started incorporating this type of slower running as I got more into math and trying to keep my heart rate around that 137, 138 mark. I've noticed that I've let my form degrade to the point where I'm not driving. My anterior pelvic tilt is bad. That lordosis in my lower back is bad, giving back problems. And so I've even noticed as I start to tilt my hips back correctly again, just doing that even the tightness in my hips, what that causes will overcompensate. So a lot of times when people have bad flexibility in their hips and they're running with the correct form with their kind of that bucket, their hips, that to get that full drive off your back leg as you drive and then you swing your leg back out, your back will sway to compensate if your hips are not flexible enough to kind of rotate out. You're not swimming, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so as you drive, if your hips are not able to flex and really drive and go with it and push back, your back will actually sway even more to compensate for that. And those are the things I've kind of dealt with, is that tightness through my hips and pelvic area that I really have to work on. And I have done plenty of tests now to realize that it's really causing a lot of inefficiencies in my stride. That is another way I'm going to get faster in 2021. I will definitely keep you all informed how things are going. I'm really taking it easy, really trying to easily stretch more, work on the form, making sure that I'm not putting my spine in some sort of weird posture, because then that can hurt. I've actually noticed the more I try to drive with my glutes, because my glutes have gotten weaker, and I've really noticed that I have not been engaging my glutes. So trying to go through all this as slowly as possible and transition so I'm not putting extra stress on my lower back, because I do notice that sometimes when I start to drive more with my legs and push off with my feet, that I do notice that sometimes if I'm not really careful and making sure I'm rotating my hips with it, that it will put more pressure on my lower back, because again, I'm swaying more to compensate for that drive phase. So those are some of the things I'm working on. I'm going to go into more detail as I progress through this, because I think it's something important. It's not something everyone has to worry about. This is specific to me. I've noticed that this is something that I've dealt with pretty much my whole life. I don't know why. I think it's genetics, just how my hips and my lower back and abdominal muscles are built. I really need to work on that flexibility. I was a sprinter growing up. I was not a distance runner. So I'm not necessarily built for distance, being 6 foot, around 200 pounds. I'm on the, I'm on the heavier side, the bigger side. It is what it is. I got to deal with it. So that's what I've been dealing with. I'm excited, actually, that I've figured this out again, and say again, because this is stuff you got to kind of revisit. You don't notice that your form's doing that. And I've noticed editing some video, I'm like, wow, look, I'm really, really squatting down in my stance a little bit, and I really need to address that. And so I've just started noticing more and more that it's gotten bad. So it does help every once in a while to kind of video yourself, and maybe if you know what you're doing, kind of break down your form, get a coach, help break down your form if you're seeing some issues, and maybe there are some efficiencies that you can gain from correcting your form. Okay, all that being said, I'm in week 49, like I said. I've ran 35 miles this week. So I did a back-to-back long runs, 10 miles, as you saw in the video, the running on the trails, and then 10 miles Sunday. Not a bad weekend, 20 miles on the weekend, and effort was right where I needed it to be, but because I have been correcting my form, it wasn't perceived as difficult as it probably would have been. I do notice that immediately as soon as I correct my form, things feel easier. So that was a great week, great training week for me. 35 miles. I'm getting close to 1,400, so I'm 600 miles behind the goal that I had for the year. But that goal is out the window. It doesn't matter anymore. It's just kind of an arbitrary goal. I'm preparing. I'm gonna have an ultra in February, the Icy 8, so it'll be an 8 hour. So just above a 50K type race, trail race. Ran that last year. I'll put the video for that down in the description or at the end of this video, or one of the cards that pops up around here. That was a fun race. It really was a fun race. I ran fast in that, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm preparing for that, and then I'll go into the 24-hour race. And like I said, I'm going to be shooting for 100 miles this year, so I really gotta ramp up the volume. I really, really, really need to ramp up the volume to prepare for that. That will be in September if I get in, and that's got me excited. It's got me nervous, and you all will be coming along on the ride. So the Yeti 100 hopefully will be my first 100, because I've looked at all the ones that are around here, and I think that would be the best option for me at this point. I just really like the logistics of how the race is set up and how people could help. So that's a big deal for me, because I don't have a large amount of running friends and people willing to kind of help with that kind of thing. And it's a large ask for people. So I'm going to do the best I can. Hopefully we'll be I can do the best I can to register. The lottery will happen. We'll see what happens. And I will definitely let you all know immediately, if not sooner, when I get into the race. I appreciate you all. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling happy. The weight's come down. I think I lost about 2 to 3 pounds this week. So I'm trending in the right direction, down, and I'm excited about these form changes, and I'm looking forward to 2022. Thanks for watching, and if you want to follow along with some other videos where I talk about some tips and tricks to get you back in the saddle, get you running, get you in shape, click right there. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Take care.